Tensions between Washington and London flared this week when the US delivered a rare open reprimand to one of its closest allies over Britain's decision to become the founder member of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank launched by China. With me to discuss this latest transatlantic dispute and the issues underlying it is Martin Wolf, the FT's chief economic commentator. Martin, welcome. Just quickly, tell us about this institution, which many people may not have heard of or just don't really know all the details. What's at stake here? What is this institution? What's it intended to do?
Well, the ostensible purpose, which is one I think almost everybody agrees is a very good one, is to create an international institution which has a very substantial capital, possibly even as big as the World Bank, and something really, really big in the end, to fund the absolutely gigantic infrastructure needs of Asia. It will be a public institution, and it would have very substantial resources with a very major contribution from China and other Asian countries. But of course, in addition to that, there's a big political, if you like, economic cum political objective, which is that it's launched by China, and it's a way of saying we have the resources to play a really big role in providing public goods in this region. We're a leader in the region. We've been closed out of the existing institution, notably the Asian Development Bank, dominated by Japan, where we don't have the role we think we deserve, and we want to establish our role as a great power. And one way of doing this is by establishing an institution of this kind.
But I mean, you mentioned the ADB, the Asian Development Bank. That's one institution. There's also the World Bank, and I think the view from Washington is, and has been, there are already two institutions. Why do we need a third?
Yes, I think the Washington probably has two concerns. Again, the ostensible argument is we already have existing institutions. Why create a new one? Why have competition? I think one possible answer is, well, actually the demand for infrastructure funding is absolutely enormous. And I actually think that a bit of competition among public institutions is rather a good thing. Remember, the ADB itself was established after the World Bank, and it actually also overlapped with the World Bank's funding in Asia and similarly with other regional banks. So I don't think that argument is terribly powerful. I think America's real objection is that here will be a very powerful multilateral institution, but instead of being dominated, as all the other bodies have been, by the West in general and America in particular, this one will be created and dominated by China. And clearly they see this as an aspect of a very long-term geopolitical and economic rivalry.
So why is Britain doing this?
I think the British are beginning to show signs of independence from their relationship with America. I think we're beginning to behave a little bit more like France, and just as France is becoming more cooperative. And beneath that, I think in this case of this government, there's a sort of sense we've got a different geopolitical role to play. We're back to being a trading nation. We want to do our best with all the powers of the world. Furthermore, I think actually there's quite a good argument for saying that it will be better than splitting the world into two camps, is that we, the West and Britain, play a cooperative role with these institutions. It will give us some influence. I don't think the American argument there's more influence from outside holds up at all. And I think that the Chinese are quite right to argue that we haven't reformed the other institutions fast enough to recognize their rising weight.
Do you think others will now follow Britain? I mean, the Chinese, this is quite a coup to have got the British to sign up. The Chinese have made overtures to other Western or developed countries, such as the Australians and so forth.
From what we know, the Americans put a lot of pressure on the Australians and the Koreans not to participate, and I understand they haven't. I don't know whether other European powers will think they should join, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'm not predicting anything, but if Germany or France were to decide, Japan is a different case because the frictions are so profound, but if Germany and France decided, well, it makes sense, we want basically to have a cooperative relationship with China if we can, well, indeed, I think the Americans should participate. They should insist in return for their participation that the Western countries get a very substantial weight in the institution and have a real say in it. That would make a lot of sense. It would be much better than just having Britain there. But I think we should give this a go. I think it makes sense, and I hope that other Western powers, preferably together, I would have preferred it were together, would actually participate.
The transatlantic issue and UK-US relations, I mean, obviously a bit tense at the moment, not just over this issue, but also over things such as defence spending. Do you see that patching up or getting worse?
I suspect we're moving to a new relationship in which we're a little less the perfect satellite, as it were, the perfect assistant. I think it still will be the closest relationship we have with a great power. I cannot imagine that changing, but I don't think it'd be terrible if the Americans realize we won't always go along with their ideas, whatever they are.
Thank you, Martin.